Firstly, congratulations for the launch and to the team. Uh, Very good evening, everyone. Myself, Kritagnya. Today, we have gathered here for WCBNR 9. Uh, Firstly, I'd like to say something about this initiative. It is a platform provided for young researchers and scholars in the field of wildlife to talk and interact. During lockdown period, where learning and working was an issue, Dr. Nishit drive students for an interactive talk and the journey started. Here, the talk starts and researchers give talk and listeners can interact and exchange knowledge. We have this talk every month and we thank Nishit sir and the WCB Research Foundation for providing the platform. So thank you, sir. Now coming to the session, we have Arzu Malik. She is a PhD scholar at the Department of Environmental Science, MS University, Baroda, and WCB Research Lab. She has tried to employ an integrated approach to find ways to reduce human-bear conflicts. She is a member of IUCN SSC Sloth Bear Expert Team, and her research work is recognized by Human Bear Conflict Mitigation Network, USA. She has also been awarded by research and conservation grants from International Association for Bear Research and Management, USA, and Ruforth Small Grants, UK. Over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Kritagna, for this really nice introduction. I'm really happy to be here and to talk about my work, which is really exciting because I really love this work. And that's how I got introduced to this species, and I've never looked back. So I'm going to start sharing my screen first, and then we can start, right? Is it visible? Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Arzu Malik, and today I'm gonna talk on this topic whether water resource management can really help in reducing human sloth bear conflict. And I'll be talking about a specific species, which is sloth bear. And before I delve into this really important question, I would like to give a brief introduction on sloth bear as a species. So I shall begin with that. I'm sure most of the people might be knowing about sloth bear, but still I want to go further and talk about this really unique bear species. First, sloth bear, also known as Melarsus ursinus, is among the 4 bear species that are found in India and 8 bear species that are present all over the world. This species is quite unique in terms of that a shaggy coat, as you can see in the picture, which is quite clear, and long claws, which actually helps in digging the area and eating the termites and ants. And the most important fact that actually amazes me about sloth bear that they carry their cubs on their back, the female usually. If you would like to see, go into the sanctuary, and if you are lucky, you can see that with your own eyes where sloth bear is carrying their cubs on their back, which is a unique fact about this species among the bear or Ursidae family. Now, amazing thing about this bear species is they have been given a term myrmecophagy, which says that they feed on termites and ants, but they also relishes on honey, fruits, and vegetables. As per Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972, they are categorized under Schedule 1, and IUCN Red List has put them under the category of vulnerable because of their dwindling population number all over the world. Now, when we talk about its distribution all over the world, sloth bear range is restricted to Indian subcontinent only, which consists of Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. But due to over a period of time, lack of awareness and lack of conservation efforts, or some other factors that might have played role, sloth bear have been extirpated from the Bangladesh. Whereas still there are some lack of information going on from some other countries. That's why we are putting so much effort into conserving this really unique species. If we talk about our country, this sloth bear can be found in the wide range of habitat from northeastern region to the central area to the western region in the Gujarat state and to the southern areas of our country. And what is the most important fact about is that we inhabited more than 80% population all over the world, which is really interesting. And that's why we need to focus on conserving this bear species. If we talk about Gujarat state, the sloth bear, as you can see in the map, the green patches shows the habitat range of sloth bear in the Gujarat state. And this eastern border, which you can see where the circles are put, these are the 5 major protected areas which are designated for sloth bear sanctuaries. So which are named as Jessore and Balaram Ambaji in the northern region, Ratanmal and Jambu Goda in the central region, and then Shulpaneshwar that comes in the little southern part of the Gujarat state. Another interesting fact about this area is that this eastern border of Gujarat state represents the westernmost edge of the sloth bear distribution range. Beyond that, you won't find any sloth bear species. So again, this area becomes really important for us where we actually work and where we need to conserve this species. Before I go further, a study was done in 2016 by Dr. Tharaiya in the northern region of Gujarat, where he identified 5 major threats towards sloth bear, which were habitat degradation, human sloth bear conflict, change in land use, poaching of bear body parts, and lack of awareness. As it is quite clear from the pie chart that majority of contribution was given by habitat degradation and human sloth bear conflict. Now we see due to high human encroachment, habitat has been degraded, and that's why we see sloth bear population dwindling a lot. But from now on, I'll be majorly focusing on the human sloth bear conflict. As we see over the period of time, we see a rise in human sloth bear conflict. And that's why it becomes imperative to deal with this problem if we need to conserve sloth bear. So before I diverge into the human bear conflict concept, I would like to discuss human-wildlife conflict occurs when there is a direct or reoccurring threat towards the livelihood or safety of local people residing close to the habitat of this species, and which ultimately leads to persecution of that particular species. As per WWF, conflict between animal and humans is a significant threat towards the continued survival of that species, and it also poses a major threat towards the livelihood of the people, which, if not be dealt, might result in decline in support of local population, which we are actually observing these days. There is an increase in hostility towards the species by the local people, and that's what we are actually focusing on in order to create awareness among the local people, especially residing close to or inside these habitats. Now, you might have seen or heard or discussed about all these news which come time to time, where we see either humans have been attacked or injured fatally by sloth bear in particular areas, or sloth bear have been a retaliatory killing of sloth bear have been taken place by the agitated group of people or official authorities under the pressure of the families who have lost their family members. That's where it comes, where we need to focus what are the reasons for this conflict that is occurring. So this gives rise to the question. So the studies that have been done all over the Gujarat state, or the surveys that have been done, have identified 2 major reasons for this conflict that has been taking place. One is sharing of forest resources, and the other one is movement of sloth bear inside the village areas, or movement of humans inside the forest area. Now, there can be many reasons why sloth bear are moving into the village areas. One is habitat degradation, fragmentation, lack of resources, basic requirements. That's why they have been pushed to move out in search of food or water resources. And another one is Due to increase in population, there is a high encroachment into the forest area, and these factors are leading to sudden encounter with the bears, which ultimately leads to the either fatal injuries or death of people or retaliatory killing of sloth bear. If you look at this graph, which represent the number of attacks recorded in Gujarat state in between the year of 2005 to 2016, you might see the number of attacks that were recorded in 2005 was 8, but it increases over a period of time and goes up to 68 in 2013, which is a huge number. Because if we look at the whole data, over the period of 10 years, in the last 10 years, more than 300 attacks have been recorded in the Gujarat state only. Further, if we organize this similar data into the different season, you can see that chart gives a clear picture, clear trend. There's a huge difference that number of attacks increasing in summer as compared to winter and monsoon. Now, why this is happening? This question arises: why attacks are happening more in summer as compared to other seasons? Depending on the region, as we were working in northern Gujarat region, in summer it's a dry deciduous forest, semi-arid zone. So there might be that there's a lack of resources like food or water, which might be pushing bears towards the outside areas into the village areas, leading to sudden encounters. So to understand why sloth bear is moving into the villages, we needed to figure out the movement pattern of sloth bear. And to understand that movement pattern, we needed to understand the basic requirement of the species, which is food and water. So as I've already told you that sloth bear is a generalist. So it can rely on anything which is available, from termites to ants to honey to fruits and vegetables, whichever thing is available. Sloth bear relies on that and feeds on that. So being a generalist, food availability might be of less an issue in that particular area, but water might be a limiting factor which pushes bear outside of their habitat in search of water. Bear might move into the village area where there are artificial ponds or structure where water is available, and that's how they come into the interaction with humans. Many studies also have identified this, that sloth bear presence was recorded within the 500-meter range of the water bodies that were present. Again, we also tried to prove this fact by the science survey that was conducted in the whole state, which was further categorized into subcategories: forest, shrubland, and water bodies. And this pie chart shows that 16% of signs were found in the proximity of the water bodies that were present there. And out of those 16%, majority of signs, that approximately goes up to 61%, were within the 1 kilometer range of those water bodies. To prove this again, we did an experiment. We took those locations of the conflict that has taken place, and we overlaid it on one of the sanctuary in the northern region of Gujarat, which is a Jessore sloth bear sanctuary. And we tried to identify where these locations are relying. So we found out that majority of locations were in the close proximity of water bodies that was within the 1 kilometer range. So that leads to the hypothesis of my study that water might be acting as a limiting factor. That's why bears are going outside in the summer regions, summer season especially, which is leading to the conflict situations, particularly in the northern region of Gujarat. We tried calculate the Euclidean distance between the sloth bear presence signs that were recorded in the area and the water bodies present there. So we found out that majority of signs, or the frequency of sign, was high within the range of 500 to 1000 meters. But as we move further from these water bodies, the frequency of recording these signs declines. So this whole study leads to the objective, or our main study, which was to establish a relationship between water availability and bear presence, considering water as a limiting resource affecting the bear movement in the area. So this whole study was conducted in the two main sanctuary of the Gujarat state, which is Jessore Sloth Bear Sanctuary and Balaram Ambaji Wildlife Sanctuary. These two sanctuaries have been estimated with highest density of sloth bear in the Gujarat state. Approximately 61 bears were recorded in last census in Jessore, and approximately 59 was recorded, sloth bear population number was recorded in Balaram Ambaji. So these are the really two important sanctuary where we work. In summer, the temperature here goes up to 48 degrees Celsius. Low rainfall and a very dry and hot climatic conditions in Aravali region often brought drought-like condition in the area, which leads to scarcity of water for wildlife. So in order to achieve our objective, we tried to first identify the natural water resources that are present in these two sanctuaries. And for that, we tried to form the drainage map of both the sanctuary using a simple tool in ArcGIS, which is a hydrology tool. And we use this simple algorithm, including fill sinks, flow direction, flow accumulation, to target those natural water accumulation points, which were further monitored for sloth bear presence. Now I've taken this one of the sanctuary, which is a Jessore sloth bear sanctuary, as an example to explain how we developed this drainage map and how we identified those water points. First, we used a digital elevation model layer as an input raster, which was subjected to the first tool, which was FIL-SINX. What exactly FIL-SINX does is, it tries to remove the imperfections that were already present in the digital elevation model. Why we need to do this is because we need to remove this imperfection so that the water that is virtually trapped in the high elevation cells, that can be removed. So by using this thing, we actually modified the digital elevation model for our next step. Further, we use that modified DEM where all the imperfections were removed, and it was subjected to our next step, which is flow direction. Flow direction basically identifies the unique cell which has unique value and identifies the direction which water will flow from high elevation to lower elevation. Further, this input that was created by direction subjected to flow accumulation, where flow accumulation tool identifies direction in which water will flow from high elevation to low based on the terrain. That's how we developed our drainage map for both three. And based on this trial order, we identified naturally accumulated water points, which we further monitored. And we went inside the field. We also checked whether there was water present or not. We also recorded the GPS location. Further, we overlaid this GPS location on map just to check whether we are going in the right direction or not. And that's how we decided to monitor 26 water points in both the sanctuaries, 10 from Jessore and 12 from the Balaram Ambaji sanctuary. These yellow dots actually represents the water bodies that we monitored. To further achieve our objective, we decided to do the field survey in two phases. One was done before the monsoon and the next one was done after the monsoon. So before the monsoon, we went inside the field area. We checked whether there was presence of water or not. We tried to find all the sloth bear presence signs around these water bodies. We tried to conduct transit of 100 meters in 3 possible directions, as because a terrain was really difficult in some areas. So at first point, we decided to go into 3 possible directions, and then we took the same 3 directions to other areas and monitored and tried to record every possible sign which showed that sloth bear was present there, which included scat, claw mark, pug mark, or any kind of digging. Along with that, we also recorded factors like slope, elevation, proximity to human settlements, type of habitat, and any other thing like food resources which were present, which are preferred by sloth bear species. We recorded that for further analysis. We also tried to employ the camera traps. So we decided that we'll put camera traps 15 to 20 days to capture how frequently sloth bear visited these water bodies to check the requirement of water by sloth bears. Unfortunately, due to lockdown situation and another factor, like these areas are highly encroached. So people usually go inside the area for livestock grazing and for multiple reasons. We lost majority of our camera traps. And due to that, I was unable to retrieve data regarding the bears frequently visiting these areas. But these are a few pictures that I got my hands on and which I I'm really happy to show you. As you can see, there was a leopard, sloth bear, hyena were visiting these water bodies. So this was the result once we finished doing our field work. As you can see, these two sanctuaries show the presence of sloth bear before monsoon, and we found out that around all we found the present signs of sloth bear. However, the situation changes after the monsoon. Only 12 water points were found with sloth bear signs. Now, this might be due to the fact that after monsoon, there was adequate amount of water was available in other areas too. So there was no need for sloth bear to visit particularly these areas which were being monitored. So we tried again to find the form a correlation matrix between these identified factors which might be affecting the movement of sloth bear in our study area, which were elevation, slope, proximity to settlement, presence of food, and type of habitat. In type of habitat, we further categorize into 5 subcategories: open forest, moderately dense forest, precipice-dominated species area, rocky terrain. As you can see through this correlation matrix, there was a no or low to moderate correlation was formed due to low availability of data. So we further moved ahead, and as this was an experimental study, we tried to use machine learning tools, in which we used 2 types of tools. One was decision tree analysis and another was random forest. So in decision tree analysis, this is a simplified version of decision tree analysis, which I'd like to explain. So what decision tree does is takes the factors that you have identified that might be affecting the sloth bear movement in the area and forms the simplified version showing where there is a probability of finding a sloth bear or not. So as you can see in this particular decision tree, blue color shows the presence of sloth bear and the other color shows the absence of sloth bear. So based on decision tree, whenever there is a distance of less than 5 kilometers from the human settlement, and there is a habitat of open forest, moderately dense forest, or rocky terrain, or precipice species dominated, there's a high probability of finding a bear. But at the same time, if the slope is less than 11 degrees and elevation is below 339 meters, there is a less chance of finding a sloth bear. Again, we tried to analyze these factors with sloth bear presence in random forest. So what random forest does it takes all the possible classifiers and forms multiple decision trees and derives an outcome. So this is the outcome which shows the relative importance of different parameters related to sloth bear presence. Here you can see that the proximity to settlement majorly affects the sloth bear movement in the study area, followed by elevation and slope. These are the accuracy models showing the accuracy rate of our 2 models. First one is showing for decision tree and the other one is showing for random forest. Again, we tried to form a significant relationship between these independent variables and sloth bear presence sign. So we tried to regress all these variables against the sloth bear presence sign. But due to statistically, it was quite difficult to prove a significant relationship because number of data, the data set we had was quite low, as this was an experimental study. But we had one positive correlation that was in the type of habitat along with sloth bear presence, and that was found before monsoon. However, I strongly believe that if we do this experiment on a larger study area, we'll be able to form a significant relationship between the different variables and sloth bear presence that might be affecting the sloth bear movement. Again, as this study was done in a semi-arid zone, we were focusing on the scarcity of water. So due to low frequency of rainfall, we tried to form a link between the average rainfall received and the number of attacks that has been taking place, especially in summers. So we calculated the average rainfall and we plotted it on the graph and we tried to form a link between these two. Whenever there is a low precipitation received, there was a spike in the number of attacks in the subsequent summer. As you can see, in 2013 year, there was a huge spike in the, as you can see, the 2013, there was a huge spike in the number of attacks. and the rainfall received was below the average, which shows that whenever there is a low rainfall received in the subsequent summer, there was scarcity of water leading to the attacks or conflicting situation in that particular area. So here I would like to conclude by saying that, again, answering the first question that was raised in the first slide, like can water resource management really help in reducing the conflict? I strongly believe that to some level, yes, scarcity of water affects the sloth bear movement in particular regions. And if we can develop some sustainable structure that might help in restricting their movement, which will help in further reducing the sloth bear conflict situations. Here we have also developed an idea that I would like to show you through the illustrations, where the idea goes like this, where we can dug up a small hole like thing on the downside of the naturally present water bodies, where we can put a used drum that we can find anywhere. And once we put it inside, we can cover it with the customized sieve-like covering, which allows only rainwater to seep in. And once it is filled, we can cover it up. And whenever there is a drought-like condition, we can use this water using a portable pump and provide it for wildlife. So here I would like to thank IBA for providing financial assistance for my work, Chief Wildlife Warden for providing all the assistance that I needed while I was doing my fieldwork in my study area, WCB Research Lab for all guidance and help that I needed, and special thanks to Sloth Bear Specialist Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Arzu. Thank you for this talk. And I would request if anyone have any questions or discussion, they can introduce themselves first and they can ask the question. No need to write a question on the chat box. Everyone is free to talk.